What's the latest in the LNG marketplace? We hear about things being held up, regulatory issues across the board, but as far as LNG, the administration, is it moving quickly towards loosening things up there?
Well, not quickly enough. I think, Joe, we could do a little bit more. The administration made an important move yesterday. We applaud them for that. They approved 2 LNG authorizations, export authorizations, I should say. These are the requirements or the permits that are necessary to move U.S. molecules off of the U.S. shores. There are still 4 pending at the U.S. Department of Energy. Those permits have received final Federal Energy Regulatory Commission orders. They've completed the environmental assessments that are necessary. All that's left is to approve the export authorization. And these projects will move forward. They'll be built, and we'll be able to not only meet the needs of U.S. Consumers, but as we look at the catastrophic events in Europe, allowing these export authorizations will allow U.S. companies to help supplant or replace gas that Russia will no longer supply to Europe.
Everybody's got a reason or a story for what happened, why we're not quite as independent as we used to be, and people point out how there was the dark night that the frackers went through and all the bankruptcies in 2014. There was the pandemic, right, which got oil into negative numbers. So there were all those things, but there's no doubt that, and you just mentioned it, and in fact, in an article in the Journal the other day, they actually called 2030 the climate rapture for a lot of people, that regardless of whether Republicans take, let's say that they make some strides in 2022 or even take back the White House, it's not going to matter who's in power. We are still hurtling towards sort of a climate reckoning just based on a zeitgeist that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm. But that's, again, where natural gas can have a very positive impact. Many of these developing nations are still using fuel sources that are very carbon intense. And to the extent that we can continue to produce natural gas here in America, and importantly, and I'm speaking from a Sempra Infrastructure standpoint, this is the business that we're in. Importantly, if we can continue to develop the infrastructure that's necessary here in the United States, pipelines, export facilities that allows that gas and allows that product to get to the market, we're going to have a positive environmental impact.
Yeah, I just wanted to get to some of your comments about the permit lease debate that we have. Is it disingenuous when we hear the administration or Jen Psaki just say it's not our problem? We don't have to beg these people to produce. They've got 9,000 leases that they're sitting on. I've seen it written that a lease, permits, there's leases, there's regulatory issues, and it takes time for both and red tape. And then you need an infrastructure. Once and these are long-term things, 1, 2, 3 years down the road, you need infrastructure to move the oil and hydrocarbons that you find, and there's all kinds of red tape there as well. Is it as simple as that? The oil companies just aren't using the 9,000 leases they have, permits that they have?
No, Joe, it's not quite that simple. I mean, the statement is a bit misleading. Because you're renting a piece of property doesn't mean that you have a permit to drill for oil on it. You have to go through a separate process. You have to go through a process at the Department of Interior, as well as perhaps the EPA and other environmental agencies that are at the state level. So there's a long process. You may need a permit to build a road to get to that part of the property where you'd like to drill. You're certainly going to need permits for pipelines to move that product off of that land and into the marketplace. It's a very complex process, and the permits are at every stage of the value chain. So it's a bit misleading to suggest that there's 9,000 leases available and the industry is simply sitting on them.